All right, we're rolling. What's up, man?
Hey, how's it going?
I'm good. Thanks for being on the
No,
podcast.
you're welcome. It's been in the talks for a couple of months, hasn't it? They're like, life happens. We both went on holiday.
Yeah. And life happened because I forgot that I even asked you to be in the podcast.
No,
So
I was going through my WhatsApp one day and
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, hey, we never kind of like circle back on this. This should be fun.
Okay, cool. I'm glad you did, I can't remember when it was. Oh, so it was on WhatsApp that I asked you? It wasn't at the Survivor?
No, I think it was on WhatsApp. And then like you went to Europe and then I went to Europe.
Yeah.
Everyone seemed to go to Europe at the end of last year.
That's
I
true,
don't blame
right?
them.
Everybody was off island. When was that? Like August or something?
Maybe.
When did you go? I thought you went to
Oh.
Australia. Or you did both?
Oh, yeah, no, I went back to Australia.
Yeah.
That's what it was. And
Okay.
then I went to Europe at the end of last year, but I went back
Okay.
to Australia for like 2 weeks in
Okay.
August. Yeah.
Yeah. You could talk into this mic a little bit. Let's just at least orient your mouth that way.
How's that?
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
Nice. So cool. Well, here we are
Yeah.
in the beginning of the year here, 2025.
Can you believe it?
So when did we meet? It was before last year, wasn't it?
I think the first time we met was Crypto Curry Club
Correct.
event.
Correct. I think it was 2023.
Yeah, no, it was 20. I want to say like I had just because I've really been here since March 2023, and it was maybe just a couple of months into that, and I was like, I need to get out and like do some networking because I'm new to the island, new job. and-
Right.
Yeah, and I'm like, I love curry. And crypto sounds like it's a match made in heaven.
Right. I do. I remember meeting. I don't remember what we talked about, but I remember meeting
Yeah.
at that event. And then of course, obviously, I remember seeing you on Marl Road.
So does everybody else.
Yes, I was going to ask you if a lot of people bring that up when they see you on island.
It's definitely have had like diminishing returns over the months. But
So it was trending for a while there.
Yeah. I still get Minamasandra a little bit, like
Yeah.
every now and again, but not to the extent that it was within like the month of it happening.
Right.
That was ridiculous because I like went to Capella like the week after it happened, and I felt like a little bit of a celebrity, to be honest. I'm happy to have had like my 15 minutes of fame on
Right.
TikTok and Marl Road, especially Marl Road. Love you works. I mean, she's called Sandra as well, so
Yeah,
don't think that helped my case.
That's funny, man. Oh man, yeah. When was that?
That was May 2023.
Mate? Yeah, so just after we met. Probably,
Yeah,
then,
probably. Yeah.
Huh.
Also, just after my BDM manager said, just be mindful of like it's a small island. Don't like
Is that
cause
right?
any controversies. And then like a week later, people were like, okay, I gotta tell you guys.
Front
something.
page came on Marl Road trending. Oh, that's funny, man.
It was all positive though.
It was.
Yeah,
That was
yeah.
the good thing
Yeah,
about
yeah.
it, like, because most of it's not positive.
No.
But that was a funny story. Yeah. But I think, I think you have more than 15 minutes of fame
Yeah.
ahead of you. What do you tell everyone? What have you been working on? What's, because then we met after that. Because you were talking to me like, hey, because you knew, I guess I told you I was a producer, blah,
Yeah,
blah,
yeah,
blah.
yeah.
And then we met at now the closed down Australian restaurant that I wish was still open.
Tucker?
No, Bluestone Lane.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that Australian? I thought I heard that.
No, it's one of those things where everyone says it's Australian, but it's not in Australia.
Okay.
And so it's like I've
does that
seen it in the
mean?
US and stuff, and it's like it says it's Australian, so it's probably like some Australians that come overseas, and like we're gonna set up an Australian coffee
I
shop
see.
or like a franchise. It's kind of
I
like
see.
Foster's beer. If anyone's familiar with Foster's
Sure,
beer,
sure.
People know as an Australian beer. But if you go to a bottle-o in Australia, bottle shop for anyone listening.
I don't know. Bottle shop doesn't make any more sense.
A liquor store.
There you go.
Yeah. We call it colloquially a bottle-o.
Interesting.
You won't find a Foster's there, just
Right,
like you won't
right.
see a Bluestone Lane.
Right.
in
Okay,
Australia.
okay.
One of those like quirky things.
Never been.
Yeah.
But yeah, but no, that's where we met, and then you were telling me you wanted to produce a show.
I know, crazy, right? I didn't think I would be wearing the shoes of a producer anytime soon. But this has kind of like been a culmination of like a lot of like different life experiences for me. Partly centered around, mostly centered around the show Survivor, which I think is my obviously for me, it's my favorite TV show of all time
Okay.
for a number of reasons. One, I like games. Like I'm just kind of like born as someone that enjoys games, and games are kind of like, if you boil it down to it, it's just a series of interesting decisions at the end of the day is what a game is. And I guess like I enjoy making decisions and I enjoy things that are interesting.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of aspect I love about Survivor. But it came about because I've tried to get on the Australian Survivor, the actual like network TV show, a couple of times, and I've made it close. I've got top 50, which I think is not bad.
I don't know what that means, but
well, they select 24 people. Okay. And like top 50 is like 50-50 chance.
What does 1250 mean? What do you mean?
Top 50.
Oh, top 50.
Top
okay,
50.
Okay. That's pretty
good.
good.
And like 10,000, 20,000 people apply. So
Wow.
that's good.
Wow.
And then once I got like bitten by the bug of like this group audition that I did for Survivor, where we basically played a mini game of Survivor, and I had like the most fun I've ever had in quite a while. And then I kind of like, hey, I kind of want to like continue exploring this. And so like I played a game as like a contestant back in Sydney, called Sydney Survivor Season 1, and it was a one day basically Survivor game where 24 people came and we played for that. It was a long day. Didn't do too bad, didn't do terrible. And then ever since that, I've kind of like been a part of I guess you'd call a bit of a community of people that are not just fans of Survivor but enjoy playing it as well. And then when I moved here, I was on the beach one day having a coconut, and I felt like I was like on the set of Survivor because like the pristine beaches, the white sand, the palm trees. And I was like, I was looking for a new challenge because I was like, moving here itself was an adventure in itself for my job as a lawyer. But I was kind of trying to find a new hobby or a new passion project, something that I could like seek my teeth into and like a different like new chapter in my life. I've moved somewhere interesting overseas. And I was like, why don't I have a go at doing it myself? And I talked to a couple of friends that have produced and made their own, and they said like, look, it's a big endeavor, but like you really should do it because you're like in the most picture perfect location. And I kind of just like went running with it and never really looked back. And I think that's where we had that coffee at Bluestone, just to get like your input from a production side perspective. And I think I got a lot of great feedback and I guess tips. And then that led me to get connected with other people on Island that are involved in production, getting advice from them, and also kind of like establishing a bit of buy-in as well.
That's key.
The buy-in is key. And I mean, I did a lot. I still, with this first season, I haven't done a lot just by myself. Before, I mean, for everyone watching and listening, we filmed this in the end of April 2024. And it'd been in the works since August 2023. And it's now February 2025. And it's coming out at the end of March 2025, which is great. But it's been almost like an 18-month endeavor from planning out the season, planning the challenges, casting it, getting buy-in from people to help with production. Because you were there on the days.
Yeah, it
and
was
you helped
awesome.
her film. And it was even if we hadn't filmed it,
it still would have been worth it.
It still would have been worth it with the people that have done it.
Sure.
I would have enjoyed it regardless.
Sure.
But I think having a product out of this, especially if it was just 2 days, I think is a great showcase of the people from the Cayman Islands, because at the end of the day, Survivor's all about the stories of the people and how you tell them and what they learn about themselves. And of course, it's reality TV at the end of the day. So there is some drama, there is some backstabbing, there is some chaos. They do get a bit messy. But also it's like exhibiting the natural beauty that is the Cayman Islands, with all of like the shots of the beaches and the wildlife. We ran into some snakes. That was great. Not just the contestants. But it's been a really rewarding experience. And what it's taught me about producing is that really at the end of the day, it's just problem solving. You come up with ideas, but how do you implement those ideas? And I think for me, it's been a new set of skills that I've really loved learning and have applied to my personal life, my professional life, And it's just kept me really, really busy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You produced the hell out of it. It was a great job.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. I loved it. I've loved being a part of it. And, the organization, I mean, everything was planned out. It wasn't
for the most part.
for the most part.
Yeah.
I mean, it sure looked like all the games, everything.
Yeah.
I mean, you knew like where all the segments were. Now, I've never really watched Survivor. I watched a few episodes here and there over the years, but it just seemed we were no waiting around. We knew what was next, and boom, bam, bim, bam, boom. You said this, blah, da, 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 and it was just. It could have been a lot messier.
Oh, absolutely. But I think it lends itself to a bit of being a little bit formulaic. I mean, it's always, you put in a bunch of new people every time, you'll always end up with a different result. But from a production point of view, it's like, okay, we have them talking at tribe camp. We have a challenge. And then they strategize. And then we go to tribal council. And then they talk at tribal council. And then they vote. And it's like, rinse and repeat for until we have 2 or 3 people left.
Right.
And like I felt like on the day, the first round actually took us like a good 3.5 hours. I mean, we did travel to like some other places from where we were.
Right.
But then after that, it was kind of like, oh, okay, we know what happens.
Right.
And then we got a bit better.
Yeah. Now that you say that, maybe, I think I remember it kind of like that. The first one being taking a little time to get the wheels moving.
Exactly. There was a lot of a bit of improvisation on the day, but it's
even from the camera point of view there was as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I think we always had fail safes of like when we were running out of time, how do we make things go quicker? On the second day, the conditions in the water were not safe, so we had to like not do some of the challenges we planned, and we had backups just in case things like that happened.
Exactly. Yeah, backups. It was crazy.
The sun's going down. We got to eliminate an extra person now. So here's a twist, guys.
Man,
it was a really funny experience, though, and I'm really looking forward to people watching it and supporting. And it's meant to like, it wasn't so much I guess you could say it was a bit of a self-serving endeavor because it's something that I wanted to do. But at the same time, it's morphed into this really like bigger thing where it showcases, like I said, the people and references to the culture of the Cayman Islands and what it means to live here, whether you're a Caymanian or whether you're an expat. And I really tried to do a great job to obviously put it in a positive reputation for the islands and stuff like that, and the people that live here and the place that we live in. And I think it shows a great cross section of what it's like to live here, and also maybe dispel some like perceptions that people have about the Cayman Islands, other than being the hedge fund capital of the world, or a place where they grow turtles and have turtle meat, like stuff like that. Like, there's so many different other facets.
Right, and which is why I love it and appreciate it, because I think you're showing the world a little bit more of Cayman. You know, that people don't know. If you're not from here, you don't know, and so it's exciting to me to think that people who've never been here can watch that. And can see, like you're saying, the best part I really enjoyed was the Caymanians and the expats, right? Because there's just a natural interplay between those two types of people anyway, right? And there's not one way it happens. There's lots of different ways. And then to see like the groups, and then some groups was like split between expats and Caymanians, but then something happened and then like Caymanians were all together.
No surprises
so there's lots of stuff happening. It was very interesting to see the expat versus Caymanian dynamic. Not in a bad way, but just in the way that it happens.
The theme of the season, but it could have been like, I did toy with an official theme of like locals versus expats.
Is that right? Okay.
But I think that might have been a bit too controversial for season 1.
Yeah.
I'll get some like community buy-in, maybe like for season 2 or 3. We're definitely going to do more. It would take some time to plan, but I think there's some appetite there.
Sure. So what was the theme for this? And by the way, so this is a season. What did we film out there?
Huh?
Was it a season? It's a season-long series that we did.
Yeah. So
what's the theme of the season?
This was the first season. It's just Survivor Cayman Islands. I did toy when I was putting it together. Half the cast had applied, and some of the applications that I was getting, I wasn't happy with, like the demographics. I guess from a casting perspective.
Talk about that.
I mean, I had a lot of people apply from the US, like 2/3 of the applications were actually from US people that had played these games before.
Is that because you knew them, or how did they find out about
No, so I just did an open casting call.
it? Where?
It was a Google form. It just posted like to our socials on like Survivor Cayman Islands and like some of the pages.
Okay.
Yeah, and I didn't want. I mean, there could have been Cayman versus expats or Cayman versus US or something like that. But that would have lended us to have a cast where half of them were not familiar with the Survivor format at all, and the other half were too intimately familiar with the format because the only people applying from the US were not like, oh, this is Karen who's 47 and lives in Kentucky and she wants to like have an adventure.
Right.
It was like, I'm a 23-year-old IT analyst from New York City that's a massive Survivor super fan and I want to be on an island because I haven't been on the show yet. Right. That would have been a bit boring.
Right.
And if you cast a show full of 24 super fans, I don't think you would have an interesting result.
Right.
What we've ended up here was that I had to recruit basically half the cast to fill in like specific slots of having a real variety of demographics from age, from occupation to personality to, dare I say, looks. And it turned out being a really quite diverse, cohesive cast. And like we had some hiccups where like a week before people had to pull out because some guy broke his elbow, some guy broke his knee, some people had to pull out because of work commitments, and so there was chopping and changing. And like about a week before, the cast was basically it could have been 50% Caymanian, 50% expats, but just because of the way the cast changed over time, it ended up being less that. So we didn't end up with like a theme that could have been. I really wanted to do like a brains versus brawn theme. So one team would be like very physically fit and like PTs and ultra marathon runners and free divers, and on the other side were like lawyers, accountants, doctors, which I think lends itself to really interesting dynamic. But just the way that the cast fell, it didn't really lend itself to that kind of theme.
Sure.
And I think what I actually like is that most of the people that we ended up with, I mean, we're familiar with it. Some weren't at all, which is great.
Right.
And it kind of reminded me of actually when I watched the very first season of Survivor, where people didn't know what to expect. And it was kind of like seeing everyone get their footing, and some people sunk and some people swam. And it just reminded me of watching the first season and people who have never seen anything like this, just been thrown into a unique life experience and just kind of embracing the experience. I'm glad that the 12 people, they really took it by the horns and embraced the whole experience. And they never really like let up.
True.
Yeah. So from a casting perspective, there was challenges in itself. But I really kind of put my casting hat on and made sure that there was diversity and kind of all different facets of life. Because you don't want 12, 20-year-olds or like 12 geriatric. Yeah.
So I guess it took a while to cast then, right? Because you
it took a couple of months. Yeah. Because I did interview a lot of people, and kind of like I had a board where I'd have their faces and like their answers.
You're
and
a producer,
their demographic.
buddy.
Yeah,
I love it.
And I was like, okay, this person's in this day, or this person's out the next day.
Right.
But I'm just worried that casting season 2 is going to be a nightmare in a good way. There's going to be too many applications.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. I think a lot of people are going to get into the show.
Yeah.
And I want to talk to you about that. Like, how do you envision releasing the show?
So it's going to be on YouTube. And there's a couple of reasons behind that. Is that, one, it seems to be, I guess you'd call it the market practice for these things.
What does that mean?
I guess so what these kind of genre of fan-made shows is, they're called live reality games. Okay. So LRGs. Okay. And from a production standpoint, because they're fan-made, the production studios like CBS, for example, they don't Disney the shit out of the IP. They're not going to send a cease and desist because you have like a logo that says Survivor Cayman Islands.
Right. That was going to be one of my questions here.
As a lawyer, I did my due diligence. Okay. I've done like my research on IP and everything like that, and copyright and trademark are those things that you really kind of worry about. Like you can't really copyright the idea of putting people on a beach and asking them to vote each other out. But when you start to kind of like make it look like the exact show, it kind of gets into like gray territory. But specifically, I know there's been instances for US games that have had like CBS slip into their DMs and be like, look, what you're doing is kind of like borderline, but like it's either for charity or it's a not-profit. So like we're really not worried about it. And I think from a production standpoint, if I was a lawyer for CBS, I'd only be worried if they are wanting to do Survivor US on another network channel, or Netflix is like, hey, we can do a better Survivor than this. And then you get into like broadcasting rights, which are really, I don't have to budget for that. That was my first concern. Like, I don't have millions of dollars lying around to pay for the rights to televise our version of Survivor. So not to say that YouTube's a loophole, but I guess the way that we make these games and we marketed them is that it's really just by fans, made for fans. And I'm not expecting like a
cease and desist.
Yeah, a cease and desist from a big wig in New York as a lawyer or something like that.
Because I think I remember asking you that when we were in Bluestone. I was just like, wait, what? So it's not the real Survivor, but it's Survivor Cayman. Like, wait, are you allowed to do that? But it's interesting. It sounds like they don't care. You know? Is it the same logo, by the way?
I mean, it's the same format. It was custom made to
the logo?
Our logo. So it's not infringing on anything specifically. And I do like my trademark searches as well on Ireland. I guess we're in a unique position in Cayman from actually an IP perspective. That our IP laws are not it's not the Wild Wild West, but we're not a part of like certain global copyright or trademark laws that maybe the UK is, even though we're an overseas British territory. And it was definitely a couple of hurdles I came into when I was going through the process of like applying for funding and see if I can get anything from the arts program that they have here, or I was talking to Frankie, hey, if you're watching, from the Film Commission about whether I need a license to do this kind of stuff. So I went through all like the legitimate boxes as if I was like a production company coming here to film like F-Boy Island that they did in Rum Point, kind of like approach it that way. And then the advice that I got was like, if you keep it fan made and a bit more of like a bootstrapped production, I guess you could say, it's come across one, cheaper, two, legally a bit more sound, and it's it kind of worked out better this way, I guess, without having too much red tape to go through. Although I guess whenever you do a season 2 of anything, you kind of want it to be bigger and better, maybe Cayman Airways wouldn't mind sponsoring us to fly to little Cayman or something.
So you are thinking about a season 2, because we're wondering. I mean, like you said, it's been 18 months. So it's not even, the first season's not even published yet. So that's a long time to wait to publish and a lot of work. It's like, do you really want to do a season 2 after all of that? And it sounds like you do.
Well, I think with all the lessons that I've learned, from a production perspective, season 2 definitely doable, and hopefully the buy-in that we get from people watching it and experience it, and like the people, not just to the production side, but the contestants were like, this was one of the most rewarding experiences I've had in such a long time. I mean, there's nothing like the shared trauma of voting each other out to bond people for life.
But it's true.
It's true. It really is. Like the 2 times that I've played it, even though it's only been the longest game I've done is like 6 days, which is still not a amount. I lost 4 kilos. It was crazy. But it's been the most rewarding experience because it really like strips away everything fundamental that you have in your life. You don't have your phone. You don't have access to email. You don't have access to much food. And it made me kind of appreciate the smaller things in life, like my family and my friends, and I reflect on the relationships that I have and what I miss actually, as opposed to what material things that
Awesome.
I miss, which is something that you can learn from being doing something like this. I mean, you don't have to play Survivor to do that. You can go like walk on a trail for like a couple of days, or like hike to Machu Picchu or something like that. There's always different avenues for people to get to like kind of like these life experiences. But having said all of that, I'm pretty confident that there will be a lot more buy-in both on the production side and both on the contestant side for a season 2.
100%. But before we talk about that, what was the buy-in like on season 1? I'm talking sponsorship.
It was difficult, partly because not many people really on Ireland are familiar with the show. There's not really that many fans around here, which is fine. I'm happy to like be the ambassador.
Right.
And I put together a 30-page pitch document.
That sounds pretty long, baby.
Yeah.
30 pages.
Yeah, I mean, maybe 15 or 20.
Okay.
But yeah, but like really kind of like pitching what the business case is, what it Survivor tries to do as a program, how many people it can potentially reach. Because I know there's kind of some productions in Jamaica that are kind of like Big Brother-esque, that are like people in a house with cameras around, and they watch them, and they have like hundreds of thousands of people watching their YouTube channel just from the Caribbean. And those were kind of examples that I was giving of what it could turn into.
Right.
That there was a lot of hesitation from official like government sponsors and like grant programs, which is fine. I understand it. I tried to like dispel the rumors, but when you're getting a project off ground, finding buy-in is really, really hard, especially with products that people aren't familiar with. Like maybe you could do a buy-in for a 30-second commercial or something like that, but a fully fledged like season that has an international reputation behind it, one is good, but it's also scary for people that have not had much experience dealing with that, especially here. I'm sure there's not many things like actual like TV shows other than some of the ones that have been filmed here during COVID and stuff, where official sponsors have really gotten a chance to understand what the project is, but also have experience sponsoring as well, because the US version of F-Boy Island that was here was for a US audience. It wasn't for a Caymanian audience specifically. And this is meant to be for not solely, don't just mean to say that, but like the primary audience and targeted people that are going to consume this content or this product are the people from the Cayman Islands, because it's meant to be, I mean, I'm not Caymanian by any means, but like for the people that helped out and all of the local artists that helped out build some of the challenges or build the necklaces and make the buffs that the people wore and the flags they use the local printer shops and stuff like that. It's been made by Caymanians for Caymanians, or people from the Cayman Islands, I should say, because there's more people here than just Caymanians.
No, we got it.
Yeah. And so there was definitely a better angle for buy-in that way, because it was locally focused and it's meant to be. But yeah, I found it really challenging. There was a lot of pushback, which is fine. And if anything for me, maybe it was just, this is a longer buy-in for season 2, where it's season 1 comes out and they're not kind of like surprised that they didn't know this was going on. They know that it's going on at least from when I hit the pavement for season 1.
Right.
And we've had 1 or 2 sponsors, which will be showcasing the show, that helped either like donate the use of some really big stand-up paddle boards, which was great, or provide some of the set and the artwork for tribal council and stuff like that, like the urn and the look of the immunity necklaces and everything, which were made by some local artists.
Awesome.
Yeah,
those are all really cool.
Yeah. They're in my bedroom. Still. Yeah. So I guess what I've learned from buy-in and how to approach it for a project, especially a new project, is that there's going to be a lot of no's, which is fine, and you can't really let that phase you, especially if you believe in your project. And if you end up having to finance most of the first season yourself, like I did, that just might be the reality. Don't let maybe like revise your budget if you we're relying on sponsorship.
Sure.
Yeah. But it's a tough gig.
Yeah.
Really have to put your salesperson hat on.
Yeah.
But it's hard to do when you don't have a real like history of positive results or like a history of successes or doing these other kinds of things. Like I put it together like when I was back in Australia, I was on a lot of like committees at work, or I was the president of my law society, so I put together like 500-person events and stuff like that. Like event organization is not a new concept to me. Producing a reality TV show is, but there's lots of like transferable skills. So there was like a history of like, there's this guy coming to us with this idea, but we have no idea about what else he's done. How can we trust that he's going to produce something that he's selling us? How do we know that that's going to happen? And having some kind of like background,
Proof of work.
yeah, exactly, really helps, because you can promise people the world, but if you don't deliver, it's going to be even worse if you try and replicate it for a next
After
project.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm very interested because, as artists, we all know what that's like to try and, raise money for our creative projects. And, I think, there's the one mindset that the artist has where it's like, the government owes me money. Like, why can't they fund my project? Why can't they fund these local projects? And you hear that a lot. But then, the other side of it is you got to do your project.
Yeah.
I mean, with or without the government, shoot your movie, shoot your whatever it is you're trying to do, make your work. And there's something to be said for that, I'm not saying we can't merge it. I know CNCF really does try. And, but yeah, I mean, that's the eternal struggle of the artist. And I know you went through that, so I was interested. And I think for season 2, you should definitely get more buy-in.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
I think, I guess I might call myself an artist, but like we're always like the number one cheerleader of our projects, and we're the person that believes in it the most.
Yeah.
But I think maybe it was like, I think this is a Lady Gaga quote. Don't quote me on that. But like, I'm pretty sure in an interview she said one time, if you're in a room with 100 people, 99 people might not believe in you, but it only takes one person to believe in you to get things off the ground. And we had at least having one sponsor this year was, I call like a win, really. And just kind of like building momentum from there really helps. And even if no one does, like you said, just shoot the thing that you want to do anyway. I think if we're really passionate about a project, we'll find a way regardless of making it happen. And I think there were some instances here where I really did. Yeah. I just had to make it happen.
Yeah.
And
it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great.
It will be. I
can't wait to see the first episode. And I don't watch TV and I don't watch episodes, but I will watch this. I will watch this because I filmed it and it was amazing.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I just can't wait to see it, and I can't wait for Cayman to see it. I think I'm more excited about this show than F-Boy Island or like any of the other reality shows. The other one, it's fine.
Yeah.
But this one is super cool. It was just so organic and so roots from the grounds up, a passion project that just, I thought from what I saw, I haven't seen any of the edit, obviously, but from what I saw was some of the best storytelling.
Yeah, I'll show you that. I've got the intro on my phone. I'll show you
do?
after.
Okay, yes. Yes, give me a little taste, please. So when's the big day? When are we going to watch Survivor Cayman?
It's going to come out either March 22nd or 23rd.
Okay,
it's either a
soon.
Saturday or a Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just over a month and a half time.
Okay.
But I had...
because we tried to do the podcast last week. You're like, I'm too busy.
Yeah.
Survivor. So you're obviously busy.
Yeah. Like,
still.
I was someone that was had a late diagnosis of ADHD at like the age of 28.
Yeah.
Explained a lot about myself, and I learned a lot about myself.
Yeah,
so
same here.
Having a massive editing project was, for the first couple of months, hugely overwhelming to the point where I didn't touch it for 2.5 months because I just didn't know really how to break it down. And then slowly but surely I kind of like went through all the footage, and then I had an understanding of where the storylines are and stuff like that, and I got a little bit more excited, and that built the momentum to actually like sit down and just like just start editing
do
it.
it.
And it's been,
Yeah.
it's if anything, it's been a good lesson of like, even if I don't have the motivation to do something, or I kind of like my perfectionism gets in the way, as long as I just make progress, it will. Any progress, even 1%, at the whole analogy of like 1% a day, really does kind of add up. Yeah. Yeah, it's been a monster project.
I heard a
can't
phrase
believe it.
a few months ago. Mark Andreessen, he's on these podcasts, the bias to action. And I've just sort of been replaying them because as someone with ADHD as well, especially with someone with editing, I mean, it's the worst sometimes.
Yeah.
When you're looking at this huge project, and your mind as someone with ADHD probably is similar, is that you're open to possibilities, you see possibilities, and that's kind of the last thing you need when you're editing.
Yeah.
You need to cut down those possibilities. You don't need to see more.
Yeah,
Because you
exactly.
start doubting yourself, and you're like, maybe I should go this direction, or maybe I should have gone in that direction. It's tough.
Yeah.
But I think with a bias to action, 1%, just keep going, just keep going, just keep
Yeah.
going, just keep going. You know, you get there.
Yeah.
But editing's rough, man. I felt for you.
Yeah,
I felt
still
for
feel
you.
for you. I'm deep in it at the moment. And also, it's helped me with being a bit more decisive. I've always been a bit of a undecisive person, but a couple of months ago when I was just venting to a friend about this whole thing, because I was like, there's so many ways that this could go. There's so many different ways to approach it.
Sure.
And
What'd they say?
They reframed it a bit, the whole decision. When you make a decision, if you have kind of like multiple pathways in front of you, when you make one decision, the reason why a lot of people are indecisive is because they get FOMO about missing out on the possibilities of the other decisions.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to go through a process of almost grief of losing those other decisions
Right.
when you make one decision.
Right.
Because if you sit there and you wonder about, if you don't make any decision, you're not going to end up going down any pathway.
Right.
You may as well at least go down one and see where that leads you. And
Right.
if it's a dead end, sure, come back, try the others.
Right.
But you at least have to get past like the precipice or the threshold of realizing that this is the decision that I made. And you kind of go through the 7 stages of grieving for the FOMO of
What could have been.
What could have been. But what happens if you do go down the right path first? When you make a decision, whether it's editing, whether it's in your personal life, whether it's in your professional life, and that actually kind of like shifted my perspective a little bit of just getting in and making editing decisions. Whether it's the right decision is kind of like just experimenting, like, what happens if I zoom in a little bit more on this shot? Or what happens if I make the transitions during a challenge a bit more fast-paced, as opposed to like having just a boring static shot there of 2 minutes of watching people throw a ball, which as a viewer, it's not exciting to watch. You want like to chop and change a little bit. So the editing process has been a great exercise in like
Being decisive.
self-discipline and decisiveness. And I think for most editors, it probably is a bit of a, I mean, when you're on these big TV shows and they have like huge post-production teams and people like have very specific jobs, it's definitely much easier to manage. But when you're
Doing it all yourself.
doing it all yourself, or you're like doing your own project, whether it's a song or a short film, you're mostly doing it by yourself. You might have some people that maybe like watch it and give you feedback, which what I'm doing with the first episode. So I'm getting some feedback from people on that, and like I don't take criticism the best, but like it's constructive criticism at the end of the day, and it's going to make the product better. Yeah, I know. As tough it is, maybe I'll like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't condone like drinking to control nerves, but maybe like I'll relax or something before I listen to their feedback. Yeah. I'm a little bit scared for that, but I think we're all like that because we just care so much about our projects, really, at the end of the day.
Yeah, it is. But, again, the critique back is great. And I think learning, like you said, that decision making is super key, I think, for people like us and for a lot of creatives, I think, I've had to reframe that a lot in my life as well when I've made decisions. And because I think you think that when you reach this precipice, and you have to make a decision, sometimes you can frame it as a right or wrong decision.
Yeah.
Which isn't necessarily the case.
Exactly.
So when you make that decision, you're worried that, it's the wrong decision and that's going to fuck me up. Well, that's not necessarily the case, because even if it is the wrong decision at that point, it's going to lead you somewhere where it compounds into another opportunity that you wouldn't have had if you made, the other decision. So it kind of just always leads somewhere positive no matter what decision you make. The bias to action. Yeah, I love that. I've been trying to implement that in my editing process as well.
That's good.
Yeah.
It's funny how much you learn about yourself
Doing
in
this
these
stuff.
things. Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a little bit of the battle as well. Like you said, like getting that critique, and it almost hurts you because you know it's right. You know,
I know. and then like sometimes you're like, no, I specifically either like made this editing decision because it's gonna look fucking cool.
Yeah.
And then someone's like, have you thought about this?
You're right.
Like,
that too.
Yeah. And
That too.
having a independent, unbiased third party who wasn't involved in production, whether it's a friend or a colleague or someone at least works maybe like in the same industry, that wasn't involved because they could have like, they were like, not their own biases, but like
those are the fresh eyes you want, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they're looking at it in a way that most of your viewers will look at it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And so that's it's giving you a perspective you don't have. You know. Which is great, but you're right. When they're asking you to kill one of your babies because this baby looks like shit, it's tough. You're like, wow, I love that baby. I put that baby there specifically.
Yeah.
I looked at it over and over because I loved it so much. And the first thing you say is that baby's gotta go.
Yeah.
You know?
How long this project's on? I could have had at least like 2 biological kids at this point.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a labor of love.
But here we go, a month from now.
Yeah.
So, and how long are the episodes?
They'll be between like 45 minutes and an hour.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Especially the first one will be an hour at least. Yeah.
That's crazy. I had no idea it was going to be that long.
Yeah, and it's not just like 5 minutes of people sitting there talking. Like, there's stuff that happens.
Oh, there was a million things that happened. Are you kidding?
But I think at the end of the day, there will only be about 6, maybe 7 episodes.
Dang, that's huge though.
Which is still a lot. Which
That
is if you
huge.
think, when I look at everything, there was 2.5 terabytes of quality footage, which equaled out to. This is not including stuff just like caught ad hoc on like people had their iPhones out on the day, just like recording stuff that happened. I want to say like over 100 hours of footage easily. Yeah. I had to watch all that. Yeah. I had to watch everything.
Yes.
I had to watch everything.
Times.
I had to catalog it. I didn't have to transcribe it or anything, but maybe
you didn't transcribe it?
I mean, Final Cut Pro does a lot of that itself. So
well, that's what I meant. Yeah. I mean, it's just useful to edit when it's transcribed.
I think maybe next time I might have a data logger that is not myself.
Yeah. You'll find what you need next time. So you're using Final Cut Pro to edit it?
Yeah.
And that's Final Cut. Oh, Final Cut Pro. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And for me, I started like editing other stuff. Like actually, the reason that I learned to like start editing on Final Cut Pro was my audition videos for Survivor. I'm not even joking.
Is that right? That's where you edited them? Your audition videos?
Yeah. Because I was like, I'm a very like all or nothing kind of person. I'll either give you 110% or 0%, and like my Halloween costumes speak for themselves.
Okay.
But when I have like my mind put on something, I want to make it look good, and I'm just gonna sit in front of I mean, some people can do that, and they sit in front of the camera, and they're just captivating people because they're amazing storytellers. I know I'm not the best, and I'm not going to win a Pulitzer Prize for being a storyteller, but I'm not bad either. But like, I'm someone that likes to make an edit look cool and interesting, and like, I mean, I'm not jumping out of planes and like doing like Born Supremacy kind of stuff for my audition video, but like at least to like chop it up and change it and make it interesting and have different cuts and stuff like that. So that's where I kind of like started, and then we're doing a little bit of TikTok on the side, editing those
like for the episodes.
No,
for the brand for the season.
So no, I'm like editing
or just separate TikTok stuff.
Like I started a separate TikTok when I moved here, which is whole like part of the whole Minamasandra thing.
Okay.
But learning how to like edit TikTok videos either with CapCut or Final Cut Pro to do that was a good learning curve as well. And definitely like this is learning like professional editing skills. And when I zoom out on my timeline, I'm like, there's a lot of stuff going on here. I didn't realize how many timelines are happening here.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're excited about it, because I was excited about what I saw from what I filmed, and I think, I'd love to help and try and get people to watch Survivor Cayman.
Yeah.
It's going to be awesome. I think, the TV station's coming back up, right?
Yeah.
I think you should chat with them, to be honest, and see if
definitely.
you can't release something there. And I know. So what are you thinking in terms just YouTube? Because there's the cinema, there's all the talent that were a part of it. Do they just see it on YouTube? Is it going to be like, you're an event organizer? There's going to be like
there'll be a public viewing party for the first episode.
Okay.
Yeah. We're going to organize that.
There you go. Well, I had to get that out of you.
And I think
tell us more.
Probably for finale as well.
Okay.
Everyone wants to know who wins.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. I love it.
Yeah. So we'll have. We're in kind of like today's the middle of February. We'll have something organized for the end of March for the first episode.
Awesome.
Maybe either at the cinema or at a venue that might do some some specials like a blindside cocktail. It sounds
What's that
strong.
mean? Blindside.
That's
you're
like
blindsided by a
that's like
cocktail?
a Survivor term. Like when you blindside someone, it's when like you vote them out and they don't know that it's happening.
Huh.
Although that sounds like a drink that's pure gasoline. But because recently there have been a resurgence, not just with Survivor, but a lot of other TV shows that do have viewing party, because there are a lot of people that are fans of certain TV shows. Like I know they do it for like Real Housewives, Squid Games, all that kind of stuff, where fans or friends and family get together and they have a fun atmosphere that's a good vibe to watch these kinds of things. And having been to like one or two myself back in Australia when I was living there, it just kind of elevates the experience, and the people that are involved in the show are excited about it. So I dare say that I don't want to like sell out a venue, but I don't know. We'll see.
You will sell out. You will sell out. You will definitely sell out.
Caymanians Cinema, it's a great spot.
Yeah.
But we also think a bar or somewhere that has like a sports bar, or a couple of TVs.
Yeah, you can do it wherever you want.
Yeah.
You got a product to sell.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people will line up to help support the project. I always found that when you're producing a film, like no one wants to sponsor, but by the time you're going to premiere it, then you have a lot more sponsors.
Where were you guys 8 months ago?
Yeah, but you don't hold grudges. You're like, I'll take the money, whatever you give me, I'll take it. But no, I think it's gonna be great. So let me ask you this: what if Survivor the brand comes to you and says, "Bro, we love this. Let's do it in the Cayman Islands." The actual show. What?
Hire me. He's my resignation letter.
Well, so you're open to that?
Yeah. I'm like, absolutely. Do I think it's going to happen? Putting my producer hat on, I don't think it's just the areas that we have is probably not conducive to having like a fully fledged production like that, just from a location location scouting perspective. But like Survivor,
so you don't think
the Caribbean.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like I've been a Little Cayman and Cayman Brac, and like Owens Island and Little Cayman is great, but got to think about like challenge areas and tribal council set, and I think that having had one or two friends like that have been on production in the show for the actual ones, they said it's just 250 people work on Australian Survivor when it films. That's a lot. 350 work on the US one. So it's a huge amount of people, and I don't think people realize how many people are actually involved on the ground while they're filming. It's huge. And I mean, never say never. If someone their job is to scout locations, they come in and they're like, hey, this is actually feasible. Sure. I mean, they may as well come down and see it. And get the lay of the land. I mean, it's like their job. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think what you're doing is a great, marketing tool to put Cayman out there.
Yeah.
So that's something that's exciting.
And we've done a bit of I guess TV magic as well, where after the fact we have filmed most of the contestants. Well, still stuff is like fresh in their brain. Some confessionals on different parts of the island. So even though we filmed out on East End, there are other parts of the island that we have filmed
Incorporated.
confessionals on. So like we've done it on 7 Mile Beach, we've done it at Barker's National Park, I've done it down in Beach Bay, we've gone back to East End and filmed that. So to get
I love it.
all different perspectives of the island, that it's not just pristine white sandy beaches, it's also the bluffs that are around the island as well, it's also the mangroves, it's also the forests that we have here, which gives different perspectives that it's the Cayman is not just 7 Mile Beach, which is beautiful, but there's so much more to it, and we've been able to capture that, which I've really enjoyed as well, kind of like going around. And even before, when I was scouting for like a location to do it, I would have driven around this island at least 15 times,
Right.
looking at places that are
Right.
like the right place. And I think we landed on the right place.
Right. I loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great out
Yeah.
there.
Shout out to Dart for letting us film there.
There
Thanks,
you
guys.
go. There you go. Yeah, I remember getting a call from you like at some point before the shoot, talking about insurance or liability insurance. I'm like, oh yeah, welcome to our world, buddy.
Yeah.
You're just trying to shoot somewhere non-discreetly. And then all of a sudden, you need Dart's opinion, permission, and
Note to
liability
self, I
insurance.
probably should have done that a bit earlier. But hey, like it was a learning experience.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah.
fine.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
I pulled it through. I managed to get a good deal. So
Yeah.
I'm grateful for that. But like it was just one of those things that you learn that you thought about, but you missed a crucial piece like insurance. Thankfully, no one died. No one was injured.
Yeah.
We kind of like designed it that way to make sure that
No one died. Great.
it was as safe as possible.
Right.
Yeah. I can't control everything that people do, but like you can like put in like safety measures and like mitigate the risk as much as like feasibly possible.
Yeah.
But if we had challenges that were too safe, it's just kind of like a bit boring if you ask
Right.
people to sit down and do a puzzle. That's not
Yeah.
entertaining.
Right.
Seeing people wrestle for a volleyball in the middle of the ocean
Yeah.
is funner to watch.
Oh, I forgot about that one.
There was some good takedowns
There was.
I think that'll be the trailer, to be honest.
Yeah, 100%. Huh. I can't wait to see it. So, when do you think you'll do season 2? If you had to guess. I know you haven't released episode 1 yet, but...
I want to say probably the right time would be around this time next year.
Right.
I need a break,
Yeah.
to be honest.
Yeah.
But I think we were talking about a lot of buy-in earlier. I think buy-in, especially at the pre-production phase, for when you're planning the season, which is basically like, what are the twists and advantages are going to be? Is there an overarching theme? Is there an overarching twist that goes throughout the whole season? But also casting, locking in places a bit earlier, and especially the challenge prepping as well, because a lot of these things are people enjoy watching people do like the physical stuff because they're sitting on the couch and they're like, we sit on the couch, watch the gymnastics at the Olympics, and they're like, "Oh no, they fell over." That's like, I could do better than that. Or like, clearly they're gonna get a deduction.
Right,
and people watch these challenges and they're like, "Oh, I can like wrestle someone in the sand, or like I can like go do that puzzle if I really wanted, or I can stand on my foot for longer than anybody else." And then you get people that are more interested in it because they, people for some reason think they can do it better than when they see people do it on TV.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's easy to be an armchair critic, but like the next thing to like go and actually do it is a different thing. But I'm all for people that want to like try new things, push themselves, have a really like fun, life-changing experience at the end of the day.
And that's what it seems like the people that took part in it experienced. They all seemed to have like a sort of realization or like a catharsis of some point at the end of it all. It was really fun to see that sort of life changing experience that they had.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it'll come through on camera, and I'm sure a million people are going to want to take part in season 2. So how does it work with season 2? Does like the winner stay on or something?
No, it's just a fresh bunch of people.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. New people. Hopefully the same production crew. They were great.
Yeah.
I think it would be fun to have a theme. But if you have come back to the whole casting thing, if you have a theme, you're really kind of like pigeonholing people already. And I think it's better to look at what all your applications look like. And if like 75% of that fill a certain theme, whether it's like maybe white collar versus blue collar, office workers versus construction workers and PTs and stuff like that. Or if most of the applications that we get are a really weird mix of like really young people and really old people. When I say really old people, no offense anyone, but like people under 30 versus people over 40. Maybe it's a generation theme, like stuff like that. It's kind of better to think about the theme after
you see what you're working with.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I don't think it will be any problem getting anyone to play next season after seeing the first season.
No, man, it's going to be exciting.
Yeah. I've got plenty of people like when we did because we did the cast review like quite recently over Instagram, and the amount of like community engagement was...
It looks huge already.
It was crazy.
Tell everyone, where can we find Survivor Cayman?
So I have Cayman Islands is the tag for...
Wait, what is it?
Survivor Cayman Islands.
Yeah, right.
On any reputable social media platform, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. There's a website, www.survivorcaymanislander.com.
Oh, yeah? Okay, there's a website too. Well, I know we followed you on Instagram. Survivor Cayman Islands, baby.
There's a TikTok page as well, but I think from what I've learned actually from how people engage with content in the Cayman Islands, it is a real mix between Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp are kind of the main
ones, not TikTok as much.
No, that's a bit of a different demographic. So that hasn't been prioritized as much from a social media marketing strategy. But we almost tripled like our followers in one weekend just from the cast reveal alone.
Right.
And I'm getting inundated with messages like, when the fuck is season 2?
Right.
When was season 1? Why
didn't I hear about this?
How did I miss this?
Yeah.
And so people are getting a little like FOMO and they're like, holy shit, this is actually happening here on Island.
Yeah.
And I missed the boat for the first season.
Well, I'm sure, it's just the way things are. Most people just don't hear about things like that.
And then some people that like did apply and then they pulled out and like, I really wish
that too.
I didn't.
Yeah.
I really wish I said yes.
Right. They're gonna.
But I can't fault them either. So
yeah. Well, maybe they'll come back for season 2. But yeah, no, I look forward to it. I appreciate you, coming on the podcast and talking about it.
Yeah, I appreciate the trials and tribulations of starting
producing. I love to commiserate with other producers. I mean, I know what you went through, and the thing is, not a lot of people know what you went through. And like you said, most of the work you're doing by yourself. And it takes guts to push it, especially with someone with ADHD and who is a creative like that.
Yeah, it's been. How do I put this? It's been overwhelming, yet also overwhelmingly rewarding at the same time to do it. And I know I'm probably like,
I love that.
When the first episode comes out and people are watching it at the viewing party, I'm probably going to cry.
Yeah.
I'm getting a bit emotional about it now just because it's so much blood, literal blood, sweat, and tears. The amount of time I taught myself how to use a jigsaw cutter tool to like cut wood and make challenge. Like, I'm not a carpenter by any means, but like I taught myself how to do that. I didn't even have a cutting board. I had to do it on an ironing board that I accidentally cut in half. Stuff like that. I was up to like 2 a.m. dyeing paper with like tea to make them look like parchment. That's the kind of lengths that I went to put all this together.
Well, I mean, the art design was really good.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was really, really good. And usually that can be underwhelming or underrated or just like underutilized on a production, especially an independent production.
Yeah.
But yours wasn't. You definitely, it looked great. The games looked great. All the construction items that you had. Looked like what I remember seeing on Survivor. The few episodes I did see.
Yeah.
So.
I just had a proper torch snuffer. It was really windy on the day, so we really couldn't like light the torches properly.
I can't remember the torch scenario. So how did you snuff the torch?
I just used a conch.
That's cool. That's cool.
And I was like, this is pretty caveman to like just conch it out. The conch has spoken.
Exactly. Oh man. Hey, and you know what was cool too about you in that whole process was that you were the host of the show.
I think I was more excited for that aspect than saying that I like produced a show.
Right.
Because during COVID back in 2020, April of 2020, when it was like everyone in Australia was just going to lockdown in Sydney, I got let go from a law firm. And like this career that I had built up, and I'm like, what am I supposed to do now? Like, I can't get a job because no one's hiring. I'm on government assistance. How do I kind of like not turn my life around, because I didn't feel like my life had edited, but I was really at a crossroads professionally about what do I do for a career. And for a lot of my life, I had been a bit of a public speaker. I guess I got into law as a profession because I was good at English and I was good at public speaking in like primary school, high school, and university. So during COVID, I signed up to a television presenter course.
Okay.
And I spent the last of my $2,000 of my savings on like
nice.
A 2-weekend course on getting a certification to be like a TV presenter.
Wow.
And the alumni for these people have gone on to like pretty big things in like Australian TV of some of the main news stations in Australia, gone into hosting travel shows and lifestyle shows. So I knew I at least wasn't getting scammed, because like there can be some like scammers out there for like in this kind of industry sometimes for workshops. But that was also a really rewarding experience, because it felt kind of like it came a bit natural to me to host things. And especially something I was like, if someone asked me to like host a podcast on, or a seminar on financial derivatives, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about usually. But if you say like, do you want to host a show about Survivor? I'm like, I'm intimately involved with this. I know what, like, at least what to do. But hosting it was a lot of fun as well, which actually meant like I didn't really know what happened at camp until I watched the footage, because like when I wasn't hosting and I wasn't on camera, I was like putting together the next challenge or like other stuff like that. But I enjoyed being the host from, I don't know, a presentation perspective. I've never been like one to shy away from being in front of the camera, even like as a little kid. I was that kid at sleepovers that put together that little like dance recital that we did in front of the parents and stuff like that. So hosting it was I mean,
you're a natural.
Thank you. It was also a learning experience as well, because you're kind of like, kind of like the things that you have to hit on, and the kind of catchphrases that you have to say. That's part of the product. The tribe has spoken.
Right, all of that.
Yeah.
Bro, you were on point.
Thank you.
You were on point. And then what was so crazy about it too was that even if all you were the host, you would have done a great job. But the fact that you actually produced everything and then you were the host on top of that, my mind was a little blown with how composed you were when you were hosting, when the camera was recording, and you just had to say what you had to say. And you pretty much nailed it every time.
Well, I had several mental breakdowns driving to the beach that morning before we got there.
Did you?
I got that out of my system and it was fine.
You gotta expel that energy. No, man, it was great. So I'm glad we touched on the fact that you were the host, right? Because I mean, are you gonna? I haven't seen your face on this yet, but as the host, I mean, I guess.
There was,
are you?
Yeah, I've read there.
Which one?
The first tile.
The latest one.
Yeah. So this was just like me introducing myself as part of as the host.
Hi everyone, my name is Joseph Bates and I'm the host of Survivor Cayman Islands Season 1. I moved here to the Cayman Islands 2 years ago with a suitcase and a dream. Not necessarily to host my own game of Survivor, but I was on the beach one day having a coconut and I felt like I'm on the set of Survivor. So that's what I did. I have got 12 amazing contestants from Cayman and from all over the world who have come here to the east end of the Cayman Islands to play Survivor. And Survivor is the best game, in my opinion, that's ever been invented. These guys are going to outwit, outplay, and outlast each other. And do I have a firecracker of a season for you? I can't wait for you guys to see what's going to happen, because it was crazy. I'm Joseph, I'm your host, and this is Survivor Cayman Islands.
Love it. I love it, buddy. Can't wait, man. Like you're saying, best show. You know what's cool about Survivor? just taken in a whole new
Yeah.
direction. But like from the evolutionary psychological point of view, of they always say like as humans, like sort of the main thing we feared, especially like in the Paleolithic era or whenever it was, when you're in these clans, was to be kicked out of the clan. Like that's the existential fear. That's like the greatest fear, right? Because your whole life depends on being part of this clan. So to have a game that taps into that raw, ancient feeling of being accepted into a clan or kicked out. I mean, like, you're right. It is kind of one of the best games ever, right? It's the ultimate game.
I would agree. When it first came out, there was so many. This is like 2000, 2001, I think.
It's old as hell now.
Borneo came out. Yeah, they're up. They're filming season 50 this year.
5-0.
Can you believe that? 5-0.
Wow.
It really was a pioneer for reality TV. But also a commentary on a microcosm of what society is and how we interact with each other. And like you said, the biggest fear in someone being a part of a community has been the outcast or being cast out. And there were plenty of people on this season that at some point or another, they were the outcast. But also things flip on the other side, and one day they're the outcast, and next day they're the dictator.
Right. And to see that transition in how they felt, because I remember, I don't want to give it away, but there was definitely people were like feeling that existential fear of like, I've been kicked out, and then and then also, like you said, on the other hand, feeling that I'm in charge, like I'm the boss now, like I did it, I won. It's like, it's fascinating range of emotions.
It kind of comes back to the whole point about like really stripping away everything in our life that kind of is unnecessary or doesn't serve us to a particular, and especially if it is materialistic, I guess you would say. And it really makes you think about, how do I interact with people as my most like authentic self? And I think the people that do well on these shows or in these games are people that come in as their most authentic self, whether they are a bit boisterous or loud. They're not there to like play a character, or really, I don't think no one came into this wanting to play to the camera. I kind of did, but only because I was the host. Like I had to. It was part of my job.
Right.
But there was no one here that came in like, this is my catchphrase for the weekend, and this is the kind of person that I want to like portray. Everyone really was their most authentic self, and I think it came across in the edit. But it also came across in the way that they navigated their relationships. And I think that a couple of people have said to me, there's some things like that I learn about myself that I hadn't really thought about. And they're like, I actually am kind of like a bit more introverted if I don't know people. I thought I used to be an extrovert, but like this is kind of like, not that like they left with existential questions, but they were like, oh, there's sides of me that maybe I haven't noticed about myself that maybe I am a bit too blunt, or maybe I don't think about the words that I use as much as I should. And sometimes like saying things off the cuff has consequences. Just small things like that. It was fascinating. Yeah.
I love that, buddy. I think it was just all in all very positive and amazing things, and congratulations on it.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I think you did a great job, and I look forward to watching Survivor Cayman Islands, and I know the rest of Cayman will, and I think we're going to get a lot from it. So thank you for doing that. I think you definitely affect a lot of people by doing this project. Like you said, people learned about themselves. That's huge. That's great, and I look forward to seeing you around this year. Let's catch up again on a podcast maybe later in the year, maybe when you're about to start season 2. I don't know. Let's see where we are.
Maybe after like the hype's died down and like CBS isn't calling me, asking me to host Survivor Cayman Islands.
Then I'll bring you back on the But yeah, I mean, anything else you kind of want to say to promote the project?
No, I mean, like we've talked about a lot about it. I definitely think that even if you don't want to play, like having people, if you want to be part of like the core production team for season 2, and like if you're a person that has like great ideas, if you're the person in the friend group that's like, I'm the one that organizes stuff or comes up with like the fun ideas for like the girls' trip or something like that, or like when you have friends over for a party, you're kind of like, okay, beer pong's fun, but like, have we tried this?
Right.
Yeah, those are
Right.
the kinds of people I really enjoy having on production because I definitely don't want to do it by myself again.
No.
I wouldn't. I would not do a season 2 if I had to do the same amount of work, just because it has been fun and it has been rewarding, but it's just not. I will burn out.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But if there's people that want to help out with like production and you have great ideas and you watch it and you think we could have done something better, hit me up.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Cool, man. Well, thanks again for being on the podcast.
I appreciate it. Thanks so much for having
I'll
me.
See you around island, I guess.
Yeah. It's a small island. As people, the contestants quickly found out.
We'll leave it at that.